It may be a coincidence, but just after releasing my video about 7-stepping to the first hurdle, the next 2 videos sent to me for review by athletes happen to take 7 steps to the first hurdle. And one of them is a national champion and record holder. So let's check it out. I'm not going to discuss the pros and cons to taking 7 steps to the first hurdle. If you want to see that, you can check out this video here, and I'll leave a link in the notes below. Today, all I'm doing is checking out some videos to do an analysis on athletes that sent them in. This first one comes from a 17-year-old athlete from Spain named Ivan Garcia Rubio. He's an indoor national champion and national record holder. So here he is in the middle in the light blue. One bit of information is he's 5'9". These are 36-inch hurdles. And when I asked him why he 7 steps to the first hurdle, he said because for the last year or so, he was getting too bunched up at the first hurdle because his steps coming out of the blocks were really big steps. So he's been doing it and he likes it more. So Ivan also sent me some practice video, and it's a lot better to analyze. So we're going to break it down here. I'm going to take a look at those 7 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, wow, that was stringed, 6, 7. Okay, so definitely there's some strange stepping going on here that are not your typical sprint strides. It looks more like bounding to me. And I also want to look at how your legs are striking the ground. And you seem to reach out more with your left foot, getting a real big bound here. And you're landing on the ground flat-footed and with a shin that's at best straight up and down or perpendicular to the ground. Very strange if I were to be real honest, but if it's working for you, you know, I don't want to talk you out of it, but I will say that by coincidence, Malik White, who's one of the fastest hurdlers high school in the US right now, reached out to me after seeing the 7-step video, saying that he used to 7-step until his coach corrected him, and now he's faster because he's doing 8 quality steps. So something to think about. But I don't want to spend too much time talking about the steps to the first hurdle, so let's look at the rest of the technique. So here's where your foot strikes the ground, right here. This is actually a really good step where you have negative shin angle going on here, so great job on that. So let's watch what happens here. I'm seeing a couple of things. I like the action of the lead leg. It looks really great. Your height over the hurdle is pretty good. Also, I can't help but notice that both of your arms are kind of in front of you. I think you're one of those hurdlers who likes to keep your trail arm kind of tucked in a little bit. I'm not crazy about that, but it's not terrible. Let's see what you look like when you come off the hurdle. And you're touching down with the ball of your foot, which is good. This is pretty good position. And then right here, by the time your heel comes down, you already have your hips in front of your heel. So this is really good. This is really elite technique. So let's see your trail leg come down. That's actually a pretty nice step. It could be better if you had already had this knee caught up with your lead leg. Okay, now let's look at that second step. Not bad here. Let's look at the third step. Okay, again, this is a really nice step. This is one of your strengths. Even though I'm questionable about the 7 steps to the first hurdle, the one thing what is really outstanding in you and a lot of hurdlers can learn from, it's your plant step going into the hurdle and you're landing off the hurdle. This is a really nice position right here of your legs. And then when you come off the hurdle and already going into running, that's really terrific. So great job, Ivan. I think you are a terrific hurdler and your technique is really great. And one of the reasons that you're a national champion and record holder in Spain. So keep up the good work. So my second and last video of the day is another hurdler who also does 7 steps to the first hurdle. I don't know anything about this athlete except that his name is Vishal. Based on where I get a lot of traffic from and the looks of this, I think this is in India, but I'm not sure. So let's watch you go to the first hurdle. Okay, so just like the video that we just saw, these are some unusually large bounding steps going into that first hurdle. My question is, are you really faster taking 7 strides that are leaping, bounding strides like this compared to 8 strides with typical sprint technique? It's hard for me to imagine because when I watch you at about step 5 right here, you're really starting to reach out and landing on your heel in front of your center of mass. And your last one right here is even worse, where you're well out in front of you on your heel, so you're putting on the brakes as you go over this hurdle? That's my big question. But your hurdling looks actually really nice. This is a really good position over the hurdle. Trail leg looks great, lead leg looks great, your arm and your torso, everything looks really nice here. Touching down on the front of your foot looks great. Your hips are pretty much there. Let's see what it looks like right here. Coming off that hurdle pretty well. But boom, into a real stretched out step right here. Another big overstride right here where you're landing in front of your center of mass on your heels. A lot of gap between your two legs. That's slow turnover here. Look at that. Then again with this third step, again, way out in front of your center of mass, putting on the brakes, big gap here. And then leaning back a little bit as you prepare to go over that hurdle. Also, I'm noticing that you're a bit squatted down. And what you really want to do, certainly as you're going over these high hurdles here, is to get your center of mass up tall. So when you take that third step at that hurdle, not only do you want that step to be underneath you, but you also want to be up really tall so you can not have to jump up at the hurdle. If you look at the elite athletes, that's what they're doing, and that's one of the things I talk about in my Hurdling 301. So if you're at this level, you might want to check that out. Okay, Vishal, here's something that I am concerned about. If we look at your trajectory, you're still climbing up to about right here, and you're a bit higher than you need to be. It could be that if your step going into the hurdle was a shorter step, you'd come at this hurdle a lot lower. But as I said before, this is a terrific position. I just wish that you were, about 6 inches, I don't know how many centimeters that is, but a little bit lower over the hurdle. This looks nice. Now this is pretty good position coming off of the hurdle. I feel like you should be touching down about right here. This looks about the right position, but you're about this far off the ground, which is the same height that you were over the hurdle. So if you can get a little lower over that hurdle, you're going to touch down that much quicker. And then here we go with the really big steps here. Okay, Vishal, something that I definitely recommend for you. It seems like you're practicing with official height and official distance, which is fine now and then if you're going to do a time trial. But for the vast majority of your practices, I recommend you lower them about 1 click and then move them in at least about this far. In the US, I say move it in about 1 foot, 12 inches. Figure out what that is for you and practice at that. Because what's happening is if you only train at that distance, especially when you're at practice and you don't have your full speed and you're not on a great surface and you're a bit fatigued from practicing, it's harder and you don't have your adrenaline built up, so it's hard to get to the next hurdle. So you end up practicing taking these long stretched out strides, and if you keep practicing that way, that's the way you're going to race. You're not teaching yourself how to get proper sprint technique and quicker steps and snapping over that hurdle faster. So you want to bring it in shorter and closer in practice so you can have good quality practices and it translates to better racing. So definitely some stuff to consider there. So what I'm going to do for both of you gentlemen is I'm going to send you my Hurdling 301 because both of you are obviously at really elite level, and so you want to learn those techniques that I've gathered over the years from either athletes I've coached, but also in this line of work I interview a lot of really great athletes and I learn what they're doing, so I put it all together into some really good secrets. So I'm going to send that to you. If you want to learn any more about hurdling, you can check out my website at acemethodcoaching.com. If you have any questions or you want me to review your video, you can do both of them there. I hope to see you there. Coach Ace out.